What's up, Buttercup? How are you? What's going on? I'm finally getting over the crud. Like it's almost gone. It's almost gone. It's almost gone. How are you doing? What's been happening? I wanted to give you an update and share a little experiment, sort of an experiment, but not something I plan on repeating really probably anytime soon. And give you a little progress update since my last video. So today is what day? Let's see. 66 days. I've been sugar-free, carb-free, veggie-free, fruit-free. Well, not veggie-free, let me tell you. All right, so my son's birthday was during this past week, and I asked him if he wanted to have dinner to celebrate his birthday, because I mean, he's a fully grown adult, like we don't have like parties, but I still want to see him, right? You still want to see your kid for their birthday. And so he said, yeah, let's have dinner Thursday night. So Thursday night, my son and his sweetheart and my mother and I all went to have dinner. And it was my son's choice of where to go. So he picked a local Mexican restaurant. And I had not been to this restaurant before, but I had heard a lot of good things about it. So let me just tell you right off of the bat that the chips and salsa is always my downfall. I mean, in the past, it has always been my downfall. Like, I could just eat chips and salsa, maybe bring me some guacamole. Like, I could eat all of that and just make a meal of that. So we were seated and we were looking at the menu, and I had already known what I was going to get. Like, because if you're eating carnivore, you really want fajitas, right? Because of all the meat. And you get the fajita that has all the different things in it, and then like chicken and beef and shrimp and so I already knew that was what I was going to order, which is fine because it's delicious, like it's good. So I ordered, that's what I ordered, fajitas and an extra thing of guacamole, a little extra dish of guacamole, because that has that good healthy fat content, even though it's not meat or not an animal product. But it still has that really good amount of fat. So that's what I ordered. And the fajitas had, of course, some onion and green pepper in them. And I sort of picked some of the veggies, out over to the side. But I did have, small amount. I would say maybe not even half a cup total of grilled onions and green peppers that were in that. But I was completely satisfied with the meat. Like in the past, how they always bring the rice and the refried beans, and then you have a little bit of pico de gallo and some sour cream and stuff. So I did have the sour cream and guacamole. And, but I was completely satisfied eating that. I wasn't hungry when I left. I was satisfied. It was delicious. I don't feel like I needed to eat more. How when you would go, like in the past when I would go to the restaurant, I would eat all of it. I would eat all the chips, all the salsa, and I would eat everything on my plate most of the time. And I didn't feel this time like I needed to have that all of the things, right? I didn't feel like I really needed to have the, the rice or the refried beans. I didn't have not even a bite of those. And like I said, a very small amount of the grilled onions and green peppers. But here's what I did though. I had 2 tortilla chip pieces with a little bit of salsa before our order came. And I thought, well, let me just have 1 or 2 and see how I feel, like what I notice, because it's not enough to just try to change your eating habits. But like for me, I want to really understand how I feel when I eat certain things. I want to understand how things really truly taste versus what I remember they taste like, right? Like we all have had the experience, I think, where we've, like something we had as a child, we remember thinking that it was so good and so delicious and so, oh my gosh. And then when we have it years later, potentially, it's not really as good as we remember. I did have two little, pieces of the chips with some salsa. Now the salsa was delicious. I mean, tomatoes, like onions, garlic, like who doesn't, I mean, I love that. It's a flavor profile that I love, that I enjoy. But the chips were very weird. Like to me, they tasted just like I was eating flour from a bag. Like they didn't taste anything like, and everybody else at the table was loving them. I mean, that basket was empty, quick. And so everybody else was loving them. But for me, my taste buds are changing, obviously, because they just tasted to me like I had dipped a spoon in a bag of flour and ate it. That's what the flavor was like. It didn't taste like salty corn tortillas normally do. And I don't think it wasn't the product they brought us. Clearly that was fine. It was my taste buds that have changed now. And my perception of the flavors is different now. So I was really, kind of interested to observe that. And I was like, okay. I mean, I can go to a Mexican restaurant and not eat all the chips and salsa. It was not a problem for me to eat those two little chips to see how they tasted and then not have any more. Like I didn't feel like in the past where I would have felt like, oh, I'm really forcing myself to not, oh, I shouldn't eat that. Oh, I'm not going to eat that. I'm trying to be healthier. None of that was going on in my head. None of that back in the day of when I would have felt like I was really struggling to not eat those things. It was just like, I'm not eating that. It's all right. I'll let them have it. They were enjoying it. So that was a couple of nights ago. So after we had had dinner and finished up, then we came back here to the house. And if you can hear that, that's Sydney again, of course, chewing on her bone in the background. But we came back here and I had bought one from the bakery at the store, those big chocolate chip cookies. I had bought one of those because my son and his sweetheart they just really enjoy those. And, I don't have them all that often. And it was a birthday. So I had one of those big chocolate chip cookies that's like the size of a pizza, right? Like a smallish pizza. And then I had some little containers of ice cream. And so I cut everybody a slice of chocolate chip cookie. And everybody scooped the ice cream that they wanted. Oh, the ice cream that they wanted onto their cookie, and enjoyed a little birthday treat. I did not have any. Initially I thought I might have grabbed a scoop of ice cream, like a small, like a spoon of ice cream. But I didn't want it. And I was still satisfied from dinner, and I felt really good. And I was like, nah, I don't want any right now. And and then of course, as they were getting ready to go back home later on, I made them take all of that with them. Like, I'm not like, don't leave it here. I don't want to have it here. I'm not going to eat it. My husband wouldn't have eaten it. And they liked it. So I'm like, you take all this extra with you. But it was just interesting that in the past, I would have noticed how good that chocolate chip cookie smelled. I would have been able to smell the chocolate, the sugar, the frosting that was on it, that had been decorated. I would have had that smell of that in my head, and I would have had a hard time, just like with the chips, saying no to eating it, because I would have been able to smell how good it smelled, right? Like, we all know that bakery smell of like, oh, it's like chocolate chip cookies in here, you know? Now, I think part of the reason things smelled and tasted, or didn't smell and didn't taste exactly the same, was that I still have this head cold a little bit. But like, I tasted the flavors of the fajita meat when I was eating dinner, and I tasted the flavor of the salsa, which was just as delicious as it always is. But I didn't have that overwhelming smell of the chocolate chip cookie, or the overwhelming compulsion to want to eat the chips, or to want to have a piece of the cookie, but then be like, oh, but I shouldn't. Oh, you know, like, none of that debate going on in my head that used to happen all the time. So that feels like a huge bit of progress for me. With just, and that's the thing that I heard so much when I was researching about going carnivore and watching all these podcasts and videos and reading the books and all the things, is that so much of the anecdotes that other carnivore people were talking about, so much of the time they were saying, oh, it just calmed down all that food noise. I didn't have all that in the back of my head all the time. I could just, if I was busy and didn't get breakfast or didn't have something to eat, it would be, I just knew it would be fine, and I wouldn't feel like I had to rush out and buy something at the convenience store. You know, they would say, I just knew that when I got home, I'd be able to have some food, and I wasn't like I was dying to get something, you know. And so that 95% reduction in that food noise is amazing. I mean, after living with it in your head for so long, it's almost shocking when it's not there all the time. Because I'll be like, one day, I've been going a couple of days, 2 or 3 days a week to the pool. I got a membership to this pool. It's actually like a water park, but so I got a season pass, and so I've been going over there. And one morning, I wanted to go, but I hadn't had anything for breakfast, and I just thought, well, I'll just, you know, I'm a little hungry, but I'll just go for a couple hours and I'll come home and it'll be fine. And I excuse me, and I went, and I was probably at the water park for 3 hours, and came home in the middle of the afternoon, and hadn't had anything to eat yet that entire whole day. You know, I had really had like almost a 24-hour fast by the time I got home, and then made myself some lunch. And it didn't feel like I was forcing myself to do that. I didn't feel overwhelmingly hungry. I didn't have like the blood sugar drop that you get where you feel kind of shaky and a little sweaty, like you know, like lightheaded. I used to get that. And I mean, I didn't have that at all. It was just like, well, I mean, I'll eat when I get home. I'll just go home in a little while and I'll eat and it'll be fine. And coming from a place where I used to always have to have like snacks in the car, and no one, you know, because when you're eating junk food and stuff, and you are eating lots of carbohydrates, and your body is burning them up almost as fast as you can eat them, you know, you never knew when it was going to happen that my blood sugar was just going to plummet and I was going to need something right now, or I would feel like I was going to faint. And it's just so nice, so nice to know that my body is fine, that I don't need to carry around snacks everywhere I go. I don't need to have stuff in the car. I don't need to stop at a convenience store, that I can just get up in the morning, and if I have time to cook breakfast, I will. And if I don't, I'll be fine until later. I can go about doing something that I may have on my schedule, and it's going to be fine. I mean, what freedom is that? That, my whole life, I've wanted to exist in a place of freedom from like all the crazy food noise and feeling like I always had to know that I had something available just in case, you know? This is just so nice. And to tack on to that, since my report on day 60, and now is day 66, I have lost 2 more pounds. So there's that. I have lost 2 more pounds. So that brings me to a total of, what is that, 22 or 23 total. 17, 15, 16, 17 pounds since May 1st. 17 pounds since May 1st, which I think is a good rate of weight loss. I mean, I still have a lot to go. So I know there'll be days and weeks that I don't lose anything. And I know that there'll be times when, you know, there's a little bit of a drop, people call it a whoosh, where there's 2 or 3 pounds will just like be gone immediately. And so I'm not really all that worried about that. I do weigh just because I'm curious. And I long ago detached that number on that scale from being anything more than information. And I do have that Renfo scale that gives you all the little categories like of protein and water and subcutaneous fat and visceral fat and body fat percentage and BMI. Like it gives you all those numbers, and I know they're not like clinical 100% accurate, but they do show trends. Okay, and if you weigh consistently, you notice certain things. And so I noticed that when I've had a weight loss, that when I go to look at all the different categories, that when my water is up and my protein is up, my weight will be down. It happens to me every time. So if I remember to keep my water intake up, and of course I'm not eating carbs, so I'm getting plenty of protein. I've heard people say, it's so hard to get enough protein. I'm like, it's not hard at all. It's not hard at all. It is not hard at all. I don't understand. Like if you eat the protein first and save your veggies and other stuff until after you've had your protein, you will get enough protein. And you will eat less of the other things because you will be full. Protein will satisfy you much quicker than all the other things. But those are trends that I have noticed. Now, you might notice different if you have one of these scales. Do you have a Renfo scale or something similar to that? Share in the comments with me if you have what you have. Yeah, a long time ago, it was like the number really is kind of meaningless. I mean, it gives you like how much gravity you have to the earth, you know, like that's all the number really means is like, you know, but like I said, it just will show you trends, and you'll notice if you have something that causes you to have like a gain, which is like inflammation, like water weight inflammation, and you'll start to, you know, and if you weigh yourself, you start to kind of notice, okay, well, what did I eat yesterday? Or what didn't I do? Like maybe I didn't have enough water. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep. There are studies that have proven that the more sleep you get, the more weight you will lose. Dr. Jason Fung talks about studies that are done and that they that they show that even in a study where all the calories and the activity was exactly the same, the participants who were only allowed to sleep like 5.5, 6 hours a night lost less weight than the participants who were able to sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. Everything else being equal, the people who got more sleep had more weight loss. So if you are working on losing some weight and improving your health, definitely working on better sleep is good. And I've been working on better sleep for a while. You know, I've talked about that in other video briefly, just that I was really trying to get to where my sleep was, I had nice deep sleep and REM sleep, and that I wasn't waking up a lot throughout the night. I still have times where I'm a little more restless than others, but I'm feeling more deep and REM sleep, and especially when I wake up in the morning after that initial 5 or 10 minutes where I'm like, what is happening? I feel like, okay, now I'm ready. Like, it's good. Like, we're good to go. And for the longest time, like, waking up was the hardest thing for me because I just always felt like I was just really having to force myself to get up and get going and stuff. And that was just because the quality of my sleep was terrible. So I'm happy that that's improving as well. I know I mentioned the other day that my joint pain has decreased a great deal, and it's still not 100% gone, but it is so much less. So I'm thrilled so far with my progress. And I hope that if you are considering going carnivore, or at least cutting way back on the carbohydrates and looking at a lower carbohydrate diet to see if you can have some health improvements, please leave me a comment or a question. I'd be happy to talk with you and encourage you just to say, hey, what do you have to lose? Like, if you do 30 days and, you don't notice anything changing or getting better, big whoop. At least you tried something different, like sometimes you just have to try something different and see what may happen. I think a lot of times we get stuck that we feel like we have to keep doing what everybody says. And I kept trying that for years and years and years and years and years. And I tried to do what they were saying, and all I got was bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So, at that point, you may as well try something totally different. So, anyway, I support you. I will talk to you again soon. Have a good day.